My dad sold papers through the Depression, World War II. He raised us with love, hard work, and humor. He's my American hero. When his doctor said Alzheimer's disease, he discussed our options and also told us about Alzheimer's family care. Now we're better informed to make decisions and care for our American hero.
For information, call 1-800-777-FAMILY.
Caffeine saver can talk to me.
A guiding rescue Jasmine.
That lighting book I can read. Well, Mama reads with me.
Simba, you must come home.
C&Say talking storybooks.
Listening, laughing, learning. Reading with the C&Say.
Building our luxury family sedan, the Chrysler Concorde, we thought of everything, starting with spacious cab-forward design. We gave it dual airbags and child protection rear door locks, ran it for millions of miles, subjected it to thousands of decibels, and hundreds of hours in a wind tunnel. All this to make sure not only did we think of everything, we thought of everyone. Chrysler Concorde, a thoughtful expression of form following function.
Sylvester is so wounded, he breaks through.
Hurry to McDonald's for Michael Jordan's McBacon Deluxe. 2 tempting all-beef patties and savory bacon for a limited time.
It's good!
Break for yours today.
The International Association of Wildland Fire just approved a nasal decongestant for firefighters on duty. It's Sudafed, approved because Sudafed relieves sinus and allergy congestion with no drowsy side effects. Sudafed clears you up without slowing you down.
Presenting Silk Effects from Chic, with silky fine wires wrapped around twin blades for a shave that's safe and legs that are totally dangerous. Silk Effects, shave safely.
Next month, it's a Dino May on NBC, the most anticipated television event of the year.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park comes to NBC. Then the medical thriller that started an outbreak, Robin Cook's bestseller, Virus. Fred Dreyer is Hunter in a world premiere thriller, The Return of Hunter. Mel Gibson and Jamie Lee Curtis, the box office hit Forever Young. Inspired by the true story, Kelly Martin, If Someone Had Known. John Ritter and Andy Griffith in a world premiere mystery, Grass. Live from New York, the Daytime Emmy Awards, and country's biggest night, the Academy of Country Music Awards. Don't miss the May weddings on Empty Nest, Wings, and Fresh Prince. Say farewell, the heartfelt series finale on Blossom. 2 NBC world premiere miniseries.
Promise you'll love me forever.
The Elizabeth Taylor story. Plus,
I am struggling against all odds to improve myself.
Winona and Naomi, The Judds. It's a Dino May on NBC.
If I had to say one person that helped make the film have its stability of being just a light character, he gave it such depth. I think it contributed an enormous amount to the success and the strength of the film.
We now return to The Sound of Music on NBC.
Sparky! Stay! Sparky!
There's only one way off this boat for you now, mister.
Good thing these roll call pretzels are fat-free.
Arms away, pretzel boy.
Great man. Yeah, must be the pretzels. We're safe now, Sparky.
For great taste that's fat-free,
Sparky?
it must be rolled gold.
Jim, it's a pressure cooker down here. Come on, Coach, you gotta make sure. Yeah, let's go for 2. Gotta be 3, man. Okay, we're gonna go with pepperoni, mushroom, and sausage.
Now, pile it on. For $8.99, pile all the toppings you want on a medium hand-tossed pizza.
Domino's!
Pardon me, sir. Why are you blindfolded? Would you mind helping us out? We've got a Diet Coke and a Diet 7-Up. And since you like colas, we thought we'd see which you prefer. Don't spill on that nice white shirt. Now the other. I like the second. Famous last words, huh? Well, there it is. In a blind taste test, people prefer the light, clean taste of Diet 7-Up. The Diet Uncola. Oh! Sorry. Little joke.
To optimize the characteristics of the new Chrysler Sebring, some assembly is required. Insert figure 1. Into figure 8. Think of it as a luxury coupe and a sport coupe nicely put together. The new Chrysler Sebring, the cure for the common coupe.
I remember when the only choice was aspirin. Next came Tylenol. Now naproxen sodium.
For me, the choice is Advil. Nothing is proven to work better or last longer than Advil. Nothing.
Advanced medicine for pain.
Okay, Daddy's turn to eat. Mommy said, try Crispix. It doesn't get soggy in milk. Yeah, Mommy is funny. Okay, so it starts crispy. Big deal, huh? Well, like childhood, this won't last.
Kellogg's Crispix cereal. Delicious corn and rice that stays crispy to the end.
Last bite. This should be mushy enough for you. Hey, it's still crispy. You're gonna love this stuff. Of course, you're gonna need teeth first. That means orthodontist.
I'm trying to think which song of all the songs would be my favorite. When I'm singing them in concert, The Sound of Music is a beautiful song to sing, especially with a huge, lovely symphony orchestra behind one. It's quite emotionally stirring. One of the songs that I truly adore from the film is one that I didn't get to sing, except in a very, very small way, which is Edelweiss.
Small and white, clear and bright,
For me, it's about everybody's homeland. It's a wonderful song.
We now return to The Sound of Music on NBC.
We hope you've enjoyed tonight's special presentation of The Sound of Music. I've certainly enjoyed being here. Auf Wiedersehen and good night.
Coming up next on Action News 5.
I'm Jovita Moore. Women in the Mid-South speak out against violence. The story coming up.
Next on Action News 5, the Mid-South's news leader.
Julia Murray is doing something her allergies and the pollen never let her do before. She's watching one of the finest 9-year-olds ever to play the game, thanks to Benadryl, the histamine blocker. Take Benadryl and take back your life.
I smoke, but when I travel, it's not on the itinerary. That's okay. I've got Wrigley Spearmint Gum. It's got a cool, clean taste that can go with me anywhere. So when I can't smoke, I pack plenty of pure chewing satisfaction.
Right, you know, I love The Sound of Music. I've seen it a million times, but it always gets me when Rolf blows that whistle.
Katie,
what a creep.
Katie, the movie's over.
Well, how can he do it?
Look, I don't know, but I'm not going to sit here and listen to you sing I Am 16.
I'm not going to sing.
You haven't yet, but I know it's coming. Why don't you just tell them what a difference today's going to make next week?
Okay, Martha Stewart dies Easter eggs. Also, behind the scenes of Don Juan DeMarco, the latest on OJ.
Lots of other good stuff, too. I'll see you tomorrow.
I Am 16, going on 7.
Your local news is next.
This is WMC TV 5 Memphis. Now, live from the Mid-South's news leader, this is Action News 5 at 10.
Tonight, women's groups say no more to domestic violence. Good evening, I'm Janet Morris. A local women's group says a woman is beaten every 9 seconds in the United States. Today, many women united to say enough is enough. Tonight, we bring you coverage of a national rally in Washington protesting domestic violence, as well as a rally here in the Mid-South. We start in Memphis. Jovita Moore has the story from the newsroom.
Janet, about 50 people came out to the University of Memphis tonight for the local rally of the Women's Action Coalition. It was called a Rally for Women's Lives. The event kicked off with speeches about various kinds of abuse, including one professor's account of her childhood experiences of sexual abuse. Organizers say making people aware of violence against women is still a problem. There's still a stigma attached to being a victim of abuse, and they believe in many cases young women don't think they'll be victims.
I usually end up thinking that, well, I'm responsible, I'm not going to get in this situation, it's never going to happen to me, but that's not true.
Words like feminism and consciousness raising seem to be passé, and we want to make sure that this information is getting out to everybody.
Houston also says she thinks young women feel they are equal to men and no longer have to fight for any rights. Rally participants plan to keep an eye on President Clinton's Violence Against Women Act. they think it's another step forward. Janet?
That's Jovita Moore reporting from the Action News 5 newsroom. As part of the same demonstration, tens of thousands of women's rights supporters converged on Washington earlier today to protest violence against women. At the rally, women strung more than 6,000 T-shirts representing victims of violence against women across the National Mall as part of the nationwide Clothesline Project. Denise Brown hung a white T-shirt covered with colorful handprints and handwritten messages in honor of her sister Nicole Brown Simpson.
And each one of the children, they wrote their own little sayings on here. Here's from Sydney. I miss you so much. Love, Sydney. I love you, Aaron. Coco, I love you. Mommy, I miss you and love you, Justin.
The National Organization for Women organized the Clothesline Project and described it as similar to the AIDS quilt projects around the country. The Nation of Islam wants Mid-South men to make plans for a march on Washington. Members of Mosque 55 held a rally this afternoon to give information on a march planned for October. It's called the Million Man March and targets African-American males. The Nation of Islam wants as many participants as possible from the Mid-South.
Regardless of our religious background, of our upbringing, of our social status, of our what we have or what we don't have, but as men, to take back our rightful place, to reclaim our community.
Mohammed says the march is a call for unity. He says he'd like to have 10,000 participants from the Mid-South. One major supporter of that upcoming march on Washington is Dr. Benjamin Chavis. The ousted NAACP executive director gave the keynote address at tonight's King Solidarity Banquet at the Peabody.
I would say that Dr. King's dream is needed now more than in the 1960s, particularly with the sentiment of the country, with the Republican right-wing takeover of the Congress, the so-called contract with America. It's triaging and dismantling a lot of the things that the civil rights movement won.
The NAACP fired Chavis for using its money to settle a sexual harassment suit against him. Chavis eventually settled his wrongful firing suit against the civil rights organization.
And she started to cry.
That's Al Gore saying the country will never go back to the days before Selma. In an appearance on NBC's Meet the Press this morning, Vice President Gore says it's time to change affirmative action programs. He says he's opposed to quotas and opposed to giving a job to someone who is unqualified. Memphis homicide detectives investigate a decomposing body found in a barrel south of the medical center this morning. About 7 this morning, a caller's tip sent police to find the body. The barrel was behind a dry cleaning business in the 1000 block of Linden. Police have not identified the victim. Federal investigators looking into this weekend's plane crash near Covington say it could take 6 months to determine what caused it. Keith Daniels talks to the families of the 2 men who died and talks to investigators at the scene.
He and Brad were very close for quite a long time, and it's tragic. It's tragic.
24-year-old Brad Perkins, sitting here on the left, should have been in Atlanta, Georgia today. He was leaving to become ASA Airlines' newest pilot. Brad's 34-year-old brother-in-law, Randy Fowler, was a close friend and a new father with a 7-month-old son.
He had wanted so bad to start a family. And they had just had 7 months ago their son Jake, and he was so loving and such a great father to Jake, and I know that his son meant a lot to him.
Brad and Randy died yesterday when Brad's twin-engine plane crashed into a field about 10 miles east of Covington. Brad, the pilot, was flying.
It was just something that sank into him that he really enjoyed doing, and he knew that's what he wanted to do.
Family members say Brad and Randy had just washed the plane and took it up for a short flight to dry it. Suddenly, there was trouble. This airplane didn't have a flight recorder or so-called black box. From that black box, investigators could determine how well the plane was flying before it crashed. Without it, they'll have to rely on witness statements.
It was no smoke. It was just like the plane just making a nosedive, and then the wing and everything falling.
There are several ways in which an aircraft can come apart in the air, including overload of the structure or material failure somehow. But again, it's too early to make any determination like that.
Investigators say it could take them at least 6 months before they know what caused the crash. Meantime, family members just wait.
They were both two wonderful people, and they went just a little too soon, but we'll all be thinking of them.
Keith Daniels, Action News 5.
Brad Perkins was a recent graduate of the University of Memphis. He was on the men's tennis team there. Teammates say tonight they'll be wearing black bands around their left socks in his memory. Parishioners who lost friends and family to a Palm Sunday tornado a year ago in Goshen, Alabama, give thanks tonight. About 300 members of Goshen United Methodist Church attended Palm Sunday services at a Masonic lodge in the neighboring town of Piedmont. Last year at this time, a tornado blew the roof off their church, killing 20 people, including the minister's 4-year-old daughter. The survivors broke ground on a new church last month. Between Palm Sunday services here in Memphis, a downtown church found time to bless the city. Episcopalians from Calvary Church marched several blocks to the Civic Center Plaza in a Palm Sunday procession. Once there, the rector blessed the city of Memphis.
Come, O Lord, and bless this, our city of Memphis. May it be for us as Jerusalem was for you, a place of triumph, a banner of salvation, and the blessing of God, Holy Father, Holy Son, and Holy Spirit be upon you and remain with each of us this day and forever and ever.
After the blessing, the pony used in the palm procession was a hit with young parishioners. Still ahead tonight on Action News 5, the government says this man is dead. Now he's trying to prove he's alive. Plus, Mr. Clinton returns to Hollywood.
I'm Bob McLean. Skies are clear. Temperature is 76 degrees. Today was one for the record books. Tell you what's in store for the work week ahead weather-wise coming up.
Hey, how'd you like to win a chunk of $75,000 in cash and prizes?
It's the FM 100 Secret Song Sweepstakes.
$1,000 a day.
And up to $10,000 on Thursday.
Listen to FM 100 to win.
Well, this is all for you in Tennessee. Good times there for you and me, let's rock. Thank you very much, baby. So won't you come and join us? Come on and sing along. In Tennessee, we're playing your song.
Come to Tennessee, we're playing your song.
For your free Tennessee vacation guide, call 1-800-754-4100. Thank you very much.
It's almost impossible, but it's true.
Incredible pricing from Fleming's on complete bedrooms, like this Cherry Queen Anne bedroom, dresser, mirror, chest, and bed, just $3.99. Or choose this Country Lodge group, just $3.99.
Impossible savings, all for you.
What about this Cherry French suit, just $4.99? Or wow one with this wash pad traditional bedroom for $4.99.
Impossible savings, all for you.
Add fuller queen size bedding for just $1.99, and you've got complete savings. And with no interest, no payment till January terms, why wait any longer? Get moving to Fleming's.
In the home itself, nobody does it better.
Now, America's best daily news magazine is even better. Deborah Norville joins Inside Edition.
Weekdays at 3:30 on WMC TV5. Answer: 2 hours of fun on WMC. Question: what is Jeopardy at 3? Inside Edition at 3:30 and Oprah at 4. Weekdays on TV5. The Memphis Morning Team with endless energy. WMC TV5 Wake Up Call. Today's top stories, weather, and info you need to know are never more than 7 minutes away. Earl Farrell and Kim Clark. Ron Childers' reliable forecast. Live traffic reports with Ralph Hatley. News you can use. What's going on in the Mid-South and more. Today's news, weather, and traffic are never more than 7 minutes away. WMC TV5 Wake Up Call. We've got today covered.
This Palm Sunday proved to be a deadly one in the Middle East. 2 car bombings killed at least 6 people and wounded dozens more. Authorities blame the violence on suicide bombers from militant groups. One attack happened outside a Jewish settlement when a car exploded next to a passenger bus. On the same road, another car exploded, killing the driver. Exit polls indicate Peruvian President Alberto Fujimori has won re-election by a landslide. Peru's leading polling firm reports Fujimori received 60% of the vote. Fujimori is credited with reining in Peru's hyperinflation. President Clinton wraps up a 3-day trip to California. He began the day with a morning jog on the beach with Kate Capshaw, wife of filmmaker Steven Spielberg. Last night, Spielberg hosted a $2 million fundraiser for the Democratic Party. The president and members of his staff along on the California trip traveled back to Washington this evening. This week in Nashville, a federal judge reviews a 27-year-old school desegregation lawsuit at issue whether traditionally black Tennessee State University in Nashville does enough to attract white students. The judge will also examine whether schools like UT Knoxville and MTSU in Murfreesboro are taking steps to attract black students. Retired Army Sergeant Norman Rogers is trying to prove to the government that he's alive. The military stopped payment on his monthly retirement check because, according to its records, he's dead. There appears to be a clerical mix-up concerning Rogers' Social Security number. Although his bank knows it's a mistake, the government is holding 2 months' worth of Rogers' checks. Bob McLean's forecast is still ahead on Action News 5 at 10. And next, find out how you can play professional golf without giving up your day job.
Imagine the sounds of 6,000 soldiers marching off to battle. Hi, I'm Jovita Moore, and this is where the terracotta warriors from the Qin Dynasty were found in Xi'an, China. Join us as we preview this year's Wonder Series, The Imperial Tombs of China.
It's a journey into 5,000 years of history, a land of mystery, a land rich in contribution to our modern civilization.
When my wife was in the hospital, I hated to leave. Trinity sent Nancy over to sit with her.
Trinity, part of your family.
Dad was dying. I knew he wanted to be at home. With Trinity's hospice home care, he's where he's most comfortable.
Trinity, part of your family.
Mom needed someone there most of the time, worried about her. But Mary from Trinity, I don't worry anymore.
Trinity, part of your family.
So, you want a mortgage loan from Big Bank, huh? Well, it'll cost you big bucks.
Hey, Wally, want a great rate on a home loan with no points and no origination fee to pay? Call a mortgage lending specialist at Memphis Area Teachers Credit Union for an appointment, even on Saturday. They have mortgage money available and a financing plan to suit your needs. Memphis Area Teachers Credit Union. Swing on over for your next home loan.
Impossible savings at Fleming's on Bassett Dreammaker Bedding. Your choice of king or queen size sets just $3.99 with 15-year quality firmness. Plus no interest, no payment till January. Only at Fleming's.
The Seagram Company says tonight it will buy controlling interest of the Hollywood studio operator MCA. The Canadian distiller will pay Mashuda, a Japanese corporation, almost $6 million for 80% of MCA. Seagram already owns 15% of Time Warner Incorporated. Seagram executives expect the MCA deal to close in June. The Mid-South's top dogs competed this afternoon. The Memphis Kennel Club held its 111th annual dog show. All breed types were in the show, with more than 1,000 dogs entered. Organizers say this was one of the biggest shows in years. Mid-South golfers who think they can play as well as the pros will soon have a chance to prove it, and that's this week's Action News 5 Memphis Business Journal report. Golfers on the Pro Tour must sacrifice other careers for their games. Now, Tour America Incorporated in Memphis plans to give golfers the chance to play pro golf without quitting their real jobs. The Mid-South Tour opens April 24th. It'll consist of 10 one-day events plus a 2-day championship round at the season's end. Already 70 people have signed up. The cost of players averages about $175 an event. And Harold Grader's here now to talk.
Strange as it may seem, the man who runs San Francisco's jails is not only a convicted felon, but a convicted murderer.
I killed my father. Very long story, but...
To make a long story short, he shot his father following a heated argument, one of many he endured during years and years of physical and emotional abuse.
Did you think about it before you did it? No, it wasn't that kind of thing. But I knew what I was doing. It's my responsibility. I mean, I made the choice. What happened after you shot him? What did you do? I called the police. They took me to jail in Oakland. And that just began a whole other world for me.
It was a world of stone buildings and iron bars, a brutal, terrifying, and degrading experience. A private hell Markham despised so much that he made changing it his personal calling. The big problem with prisons, he says, is that even today the people who run them aren't really in charge. In fact, he says, like most jails around the country, this one is run by the inmates.
They run the show back there.
What do you mean they run the show?
It's not our standards and our rules that people are following. It's their own standards, their own rules, which are based on the absolute worst understanding of human nature and expectations about humans.
Such as?
Such as that the toughest person is going to get over. The most violent, the craziest, the person quickest to cross the line, the strongest, the person with the largest clique, the person with the best weapons, that kind of thing. That's who's going to set the standards inside the tier.
How does a convicted murderer end up running a prison system? It's not something you can explain in a sentence. It was an evolution that took years. But it began the very first day at Vacaville when he and other brand new prisoners were marched naked into a shower to the hoots and catcalls of the convicts who were watching.
What do you remember about your first day in prison? The tension, the violence in the air, other people sizing us up as we came in, deciding who was going to get who was going to be weak, who was going to be strong. And I was terrified, absolutely terrified, doing my absolute best to look tough.
Did it make any difference that you were in there for murder?
To some extent, because people knew that I'd crossed an extreme social, cultural taboo by taking a life.
There was a sense that they had to take you seriously.
Yeah, yeah. And
you had killed someone already.
And unfortunately, there's some reverse honor inside prison, depending on how horrendous your offense is. You know, you're in on a petty with a prior, petty theft or a burglary. It's not particularly respectable. You've killed somebody, you've committed an armed robbery with a gun. There's some respect for that, basic respect for that. It's just an upside-down society with upside-down values.
Initially, he thought he could rely on the prison guards for help. He viewed them as potential friends, law enforcement professionals who would protect him. But he quickly learned that they, too, had bought into this strange prison culture. Every day, as soon as the guards locked them down, the prisoners were responsible for their own survival.
Violence permeated everything. I mean, day in and day out. Everything you did, you kind of looked at in the context of, could this get me killed? Could this get me raped? Could this get somebody else killed?
Did you have a weapon?
Various times in my career inside, I had weapons. Yeah.
Did you ever use them?
Once or twice. Not something, and it's important for me to say this, not something I'm proud of. And particularly in light of what happened with my father and I. The last thing I wanted anything to do with was ever hurting another human being. But it became clear to me after a while inside that if I didn't show that I was capable of defending myself, that I was going to end up a victim very shortly.
To survive, he learned how to make armor by stuffing magazines in his clothes, and how to command respect from other inmates by challenging the system. What kind of a prisoner were you?
Pain in the ass. The kind of prisoner that I definitely wouldn't want in any of my jails. Like, I was probably a handful.
You were an organizer?
Yeah.
Troublemaker?
Yeah, an organizer. Troublemaker for staff, but an organizer.
He was an organizer back in the late 1960s and early 70s during the heyday of the prison reform movement. He organized food strikes, yard strikes, and other acts of passive resistance. He co-founded the United Prisoners Union and filed a lawsuit that eventually overturned California's law barring felons from voting.
I could not accept that something this cancerous, ugly, and dishonest could exist in the middle of our society. It was like a monster factory, you know, people literally getting worse and worse and worse, more and more and more violent, and then going back out onto the streets. And we were calling it rehabilitation at the time.
So essentially you made your mark by going after the man?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now you are the man?
Yeah. And that was a difficult transition for me.
That transition began just hours after he was paroled, when the joys of freedom turned into sheer panic. He took an apartment in the Mission District of San Francisco, but quickly found himself unable to function on the outside.
I had a role inside prison. I was somebody. People respected me. Staff respected me, or at least were somewhat fearful of me. Other prisoners respected me. I had some dignity. I knew how to function. I knew the rules. I get out and I'm absolutely nobody. Nobody.